Welcome to Cafe Racer Garage. I am Dan, giving you the skills and inspiration that you need to build a motorcycle that you can be proud of. Today we're doing 3 things on the Honda CX500 Scrambler. 3 things, in fact, that I wish I did when I first built this bike. We're working on the speedo, we're working on the brakes, and we're also going to do some stuff to the exhaust. So let's get into it.
So I've just had my first casualty with this hydraulic lift table behind me. I built this thing 3 years ago. It's pretty much what started my channel. We did have a breakage, and I'll show you what just happened.
So nothing too major, but it's actually this paracord that snapped, as you can see here. It must have been frayed or dragging on the ground or something, because it should never have broken. 550 pounds is a lot. It's only used, as you can see, I've replaced it with some new stuff, but it's only used to lift this out of the way when you're actually lowering it. And I've built this so that it would be always relying on that and not relying on the ram. As you can see, it's in the top position at the moment, and that's unfortunate because I think the ram has sort of, over the 3 years, has just sort of, you know, sagged, because I need to lift it up to get it in that last little notch, which is no big drama. It might be time to give this thing a little bit of an upgrade. Okay, so maybe it's not an upgrade, but I feel like it's an enhancement. After all, I did build it. So if you're not following me on Instagram, you may not be aware that I've recently got some parts in for the CB750 for the final assembly. And in that delivery, I also got some parts here for the CX500 Honda. These are the front rotors. And as well as that, I got some parts for the XV750. That project will be hopefully starting fairly soon. But the first job for today is to swap out these front rotors, so let's get into it. So I would have loved to use the scissor lift, but I've only got the one, and I can't use the side stand on the CB750 because the bolt, which is a special kind of bolt, is actually in getting coated. It hasn't come back to me yet, so I'll have to find another way. The strap is probably a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather be safe than having this bike come off the table for whatever reason in case it gets knocked. So just in case you don't know, rotors can be machined, but once they get down below that minimal thickness that is recommended by the manufacturer, they have to go in the bin and you have to replace them with new ones. I've got it pretty much all set up apart from these 2 wires. I'm trying to figure out what they are, but the rest of them are all plugged in. Let's turn it on and see what happens. So we have lights. Yep, got lights. High beam. Is it coming on? Yes, that high beam light's coming on. Indicators, right, left, yes. There's no backlight, so one of these has got to be backlight, I'm assuming. Aha, backlight. Ha, that's so cool. So as always, I'll leave links to everything that I've used in this video in the description below.
guys, the design we have in our mind doesn't always work out the way you want it to. So it's not exactly what I really envisioned, so I want to change it. Let me show you. So it fits kind of perfectly, but my original plan was to utilize this bolt here to have that as the mounting, but having this come up like this kind of takes away from the style design that I'm after. And I want these lines to be like this to keep in form with the rest of the bike, because the whole bike is 3 lines, which is the theme, and it's throughout the entire bike, so I want to keep that happening, but I need to close this gap somehow. So I just got to cut this excess piece off, but I think that's more of the look that I'm after. So these belt grinders that I use are built by a company called 84 Engineering here in Australia. The model that I'm using is called a Shopmate 48. Now this grinder has so many different attachments. If you're grinding, polishing, sharpening, or even sanding, this thing has you covered. So we have a slight little issue here. The 3 nuts that I welded on for the standoffs are perfect, but unfortunately when you tack them, the heat in the actual nut sometimes can shrink the nut and then you can't get the bolt in, which 2 of them are okay, but this one did exactly that. And I've done everything I can to try and tap the thread, but unfortunately these taps, as you can see, have a point on them. So I don't know what I'm going to do, because if I just continue to drive that in, it's going to pierce the muffler, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to fix this. I think I may have come up with a solution. Let's hope it works. This is my second kit. It's got a whole bunch of rusty ones and some broken ones. But this is the M6, and I'm thinking if I just grind the tip off down to pretty much the end of my nail there, that should be just enough to go in and tap it without having to pierce it, and I'll just have to replace the M6. So I'm pretty happy with the brakes and also the gauge. And the main reason that I've changed this gauge out with this one is purely because the old gauge that I had wasn't giving me an accurate speed. I don't know why, but it just wasn't correct. So I changed this one out with half digital, and I'm happy with this one. Seems to be doing the trick, and I feel like that is more accurate. And I'm just going by feel. I haven't actually tested it properly, but I just know the other one was completely out. So I'm now going to get stuck back into the Honda CB750 build, but definitely go and check out this playlist that I put together of videos very similar to this one.